Hi, I'm Alex Guarnaschelli. Today we are going to make a spring pea salad with mustard dressing. So simple. Little setup just to kind of get orientated in the kitchen and make it really easy. I've got some water boiling on the stove. I have my peas, which are already washed. I have snow peas, the flat ones, and sugar snap peas, which have the little peas inside. And my secret favorite, and don't lie like you don't love them, frozen peas that are just draining. All these together are going to make a fantastic salad. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is make my dressing. I'm going to start with the mustard. And I do measure. People ask me all the time, do you measure? You know what? I do. For things like dressing and baking where there's precision, I do. So I've got 3 tablespoons of just a classic Dijon mustard. And then 2 tablespoons to that of red wine vinegar. Right in there. Is it weird that just vinegar and mustard makes my mouth water? It's usually a sign that something good is about to happen. To that, I'm going to add a teaspoon of capers. I don't really chop them up or anything. You can, but I kind of like them whole here. And a little bit of that brine is fine in there. Just a teaspoon. You don't want to overdo it. All right, so we have the red wine vinegar, we have the mustard. Those are both kind of pretty acidic and bright elements, but not quite enough to kind of really round out all those peas. So to that, I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice. You can use a lemon squeezer and all sorts of fancy accoutrements, or you can just cut the lemon in half, hold it upright like this, and squeeze over the bowl, and all the pits, if any, will sit right here. It's a great weeding and straining process. Of course, I just got one in there. I'm going to add a little bit of zest. Not too much. You don't want to overdo it. The lemon zest is really there for a little bit of bitterness, which is nice. We want that. Not too much. Don't zest the whole lemon. It'll be overwhelming. Okay. I'm just going to whisk all that together. All right, so this is our kind of bright, vibrant base. To that, we're going to start with 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. You see the olive oil kind of links up with the mustard, because mustard has that natural thickener, the lecithin, which just immediately creates a dressing with body, which I love, because I don't want to sit there trying to make a thin dressing thick. I'm going to add a touch more. I do judge by texture a little bit of dressing here. And then, of course, most importantly, before you do anything else, taste your dressing. It's good. Mustardy. I'm gonna add a touch more oil. You want your dressing in the bowl to be a little bit stronger than you'd like in the salad itself, because once we add all those peas, you're gonna see the dressing kind of takes a little bit of a back seat. A little bit of freshly ground black pepper. Pretty good. I like this. I'm going to let it sit. And now we're going to get to the topic, the main topic, which is our peas. So we have the water boiling, right? About blanching. I wait until the water boils and then I add salt. I get this question a lot. Add salt and then boil the water. Add salt from cold. When do I add the salt? I'm going to tell you. You want to add it right when the water boils. I don't want to make a salt reduction here. If you drag the salt along for the whole ride of boiling the water, your water can get really salty. And while we want it to impart flavor to the peas, we don't want it to be overly, right? I stir it, and I treat this almost like as part of the ingredient list, the blanching water itself. I taste the tiniest bit. It should taste a little bit like when you went swimming in the ocean as a kid and you got that mouthful of seawater. That's the taste we're going for here. Okay. These do not cook at the same rate, so I'm going to cook them individually, and as you can see, this is going to go pretty quickly. Why do this? Good question. Just blanching the peas in boiling salted water for a minute or two just changes the texture. It adds water to them. It's like a really great spa treatment for these peas, and it's also really easy. These obviously have been washed already. So I drop the snow peas first into the salted water. And you can see the minute you drop them in the water, You can see the difference in the color right away. It also tenderizes the exterior of the skin and just makes them tasty. Plus, you're gonna be way cooler and smarter than any of your friends if you do this. How long was that? About 30 seconds or a minute or so? Take these out. I like to use a spider to get them out of the water really quickly. And I will drop them immediately into an ice bath that I have ready. Now here's where we are really way smarter. I have an ice bath, ice and water underneath, and a colander submerged in there. That way, I don't have to dig through all the ice cubes and whatever else to get my peas out. I can just lift the colander when they're cool. So there's no point to an ice bath if you don't actually make sure that the blanched vegetables cool really quickly. What we're doing here that's super important is taking them from very hot to very cold quickly. That preserves that vibrant green color and gives us that great taste we're looking for. So I just stir them, swirl them around a little in the ice bath, make sure that they're really cooling. Meanwhile, the water comes back up to a boil and I drop those sugar snaps in. Give them a little stir just to make sure they're swirling around in that water. We're gonna cook those for maybe a minute. Now, I have the frozen peas. What are we gonna do to those? Well, let me tell you, nothing. You just defrost them and drain them so there's no excess moisture, and we'll use them as is. The peas have already been through a lot, okay? Frozen peas, they're traumatized. They're ready to go. They're sweet little nubs of sugar that remind you of when you were a kid. You got them stuck in the mashed potatoes, or you found them in a chicken pot pie, and we're gonna use them like that. A little burst of sweetness, starchiness, and reminiscence. Okay, so my first snow peas are pretty cool. I'm gonna drop them onto just a baking sheet fitted with a kitchen towel. You could literally just lay this right out on your kitchen counter if you'd rather. See how beautiful they are? They taste good too. They're kind of tenderized slightly. Because after you eat 5 or 6 mouthfuls of raw peas, you start to feel a little bit like you're eating grass and chewing a lot. So this tenderizes, adds more flavor. Okay, settle down over there. So my sugar snap peas have been in there about a minute, minute and a half. I'm gonna take them out. You can take them out and put them right in the colander into the ice bath. I'm just trying to show you. Look how beautiful they are. I like when you can make something for color that's vibrant and beautiful, but everything also has meaning and flavor. Right into the ice bath. And you can see they go in steaming hot. Just give them a little swirl in there. Make sure they're cooling quickly. People often, you're gonna go to the trouble of making an ice bath, right? You wanna make sure it's really cooling them. You also wanna let an ingredient like this that's a little bit dense sit in here for a minute or two to make sure they really get cool. It's like when you go into the sauna or the steam bath or the shower. It takes a couple minutes for you to get acclimated. The same is true for vegetables in an ice bath, right? Okay, let's start to really build this salad. So at this point, I'm gonna clear out a little bit, create space for myself. The kitchen is kind of like your desk at work. You get more work done when you have a clear desk. What do they say, like clean desk, clean head, or clear desk, clear head? Something like that. Same is true with food. So back to our dressing, where we started this whole journey. Where are we? We've got those beautiful snow peas. We've got these sugar snaps, which we cooked a little extra minute longer because they're a little bit thicker and bigger. They need that extra time in the water. You can see how vibrant and green they are. That's really the #1 reason why we go to that extra trouble of the ice bath. It just stops the cooking. Otherwise, these peas can turn brown. Now, here's the thing about a really great salad. To me, the enemy of a great salad is any excess water. It dilutes the flavors we work so hard to create. So that's why I take a minute and just with a kitchen towel, just pat dry the peas and get rid of all that extra water on top of them. That's gonna intensify the pea flavor. Look at that. So pretty. Okay. So this is about 12 ounces of each type of pea. Now let's say they don't have good sugar snaps at the store. You can sub in another type of pea. You can just use snow peas. You don't have to worry about getting all these exact types. Do the best you can. It's nice to have different types of peas just for variation in texture when you're chewing. One of the things that keeps people eating your food is when the textures vary and it's exciting and crunchy and crispy. Before we toss in the dressing, let's add a tiny pinch of seasoning right to the outside of the peas. A little bit of freshly ground pepper all around. And, you know, for grandma, a tiny pinch of sugar right on top of there. Yeah. People say to me, how do I get vegetables to taste like they did when I was a kid? The answer is just a pinch of sugar and some attitude and some mustard. All right. Toss just a few times. You see I'm just using 2 tablespoons. If you have some fancy salad spoons you'd like to use, go for it. Now sometimes I'll do up to here and stop and just pop this in the fridge for a half an hour or an hour, and then when my guests come, I toss in the rest. You can do that. It's nice to have a stopping point. The frozen peas, you gotta do it. People will say, are these fresh peas? And you're gonna say, yes, they are. You're gonna say, I learned how to shell peas on the Food Network app. It was amazing. I'm never going back. Look at that. See how those little peas just seem to kind of fill in all the crevices, you know? Look at that. It's like the verb in a sentence. Okay, let's get that one last thing. You know, there's always one last thing. I'm gonna get some basil and some pea shoots. If you can't find pea shoots or pea tendrils, do not despair. Add a pinch of nice peppery arugula instead. I'm not gonna say, oh, you can add any old green, it doesn't matter, because it does matter. It matters what things we combine here to create that taste, but peppery arugula, if you can't find any pea shoots or pea tendrils, is perfectly cool. These are pretty long. I'll just break them in half, just to make them a little easier to eat. You know when you're eating a salad and this is like hanging out of your mouth, you wanna think about that, the chewability factor. I've got some basil. I'll just stem it a little bit. If the leaves are really big, tear them up a little bit, right? It's really nice to tear basil with your hands instead of using a knife, because oftentimes the metal of the knife interacts with the basil, and that's part of why it gets a dark color. You know how you just kind of stem it? You know what has the most flavor? All those little bits on the stems. Make sure you really stem your basil, because it just smells. Look at that. I could stop right here. Or we could just do a few tosses. You don't want to overdo the tossing. You really want the bulk of the dressing to hang out with those peas, and for the basil and the pea tendrils to just be semi-coated with the dressing. I'm just gonna taste one. It's really good. You know what's funny about this salad? It has no fat in it except the olive oil. So you may find at the last minute that you want to do a tiny drizzle more of olive oil. And for my taste, this needs a little more pepper and a pinch more salt and a pinch more sugar. Basically, it needs more of everything. Do you notice that? Here we are together, and it just didn't turn out perfectly. It's not a, oh my God, yum, it's perfect. You gotta go in there, have a tiny bite, and just revise at the last minute. That last minute taste can be the difference between a good or a great dish. For a little, I'm already trying to get this on a plate. Kind of like the wooden plate for this. It's kind of poetic. There's something about foraging the peas in the woods, especially those frozen ones that you foraged in your local forest, and then putting them on a wooden plate and acting very farm to table about the whole thing. Look at that. I love the way this salad kind of piles up. I kind of love that it's all one color. It's just so fresh. This is great to serve with something kind of rich too, you know, like a stew or even a steak. It's just got such a really vibrant green look. Look at that. So simple. Okay. Let's give myself a final taste. This is not a salad to eat on a first date. This is like a salad to eat on the third date because it's kind of messy. So first rope them in with something, you know, cute, like a little custard or an elegant bowl of soup, and then get into the salad. I really love the basil in here. It's super grassy, and it kind of differentiates the types of peas from each other. Really good.